Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Minneapolis. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Jacob Van Lunen, and it is time for the final. Steve Locke came in the first seed after going undefeated in the Swiss. He did take a draw or two down the stretch to get into the top 8, but he has yet to have an actual loss on his record. Corey Baumeister finds himself in the finals of yet another Grand Prix, looking to book his second GP trophy of the calendar year, an impressive feat to be sure. Mono black zombies for Steve and black green constrictor for Corey. Jake, can you break down a little bit about how this matchup goes as we see these first few turns play out?
So Steve is trying to be as aggressive as possible while breaking up the creature combos that exist in Corey's deck. If Corey's able to have Winding Constrictor and untap, his deck can do really powerful things that Steve's deck isn't capable of keeping up with. However, if Steve is able to keep Corey's board empty while continuing to apply pressure, then Steve is going to be in a real good position to just steal the game away early on.
This could be a quick one, Jake.
Yeah, once they get into the later stages of the game, Steve needs to go wide and Corey needs to go big.
Check this out, though. Dreadwanderer into Dreadwanderer, into Dark Salvation, kill your Winding Constrictor, and Corey's left scrambling here at 14 life. He's going to try to stabilize behind a Catacomb Sifter here on turn 3.
Which is a pretty nice stabilization tool in this spot. I mean, it can trade with one of those Dread Wanderers while also gobbling up something with a Catacomb Sifter. And that, if Steve doesn't have a removal spell, specifically Grasp of Darkness here, the brakes might be on already.
Nothing. He's just going to pass the turn back after having played that Relentless Dead. So a breath of air here for Corey Baumeister. Under the gun quickly, but now some breathing room.
Yeah, and this is what we've seen Catacomb Sifter do all weekend. You know, it really just establishes a sense of parity in the game, where it feels like a player is getting run over, and then on turn 3 they cast Catacomb Sifter, and suddenly they're able to start working their way back into the game. Also, Dark Salvation, the card we talked about, if you have it on a particular turn, it's very strong. And here we saw Steve having it when he had 2 zombies in play right after Corey had played that Constrictor, and just brutal. Speak of Catacomb Sifter, another
How about
copy.
Double Trouble? Yeah, 2 of them.
And something that's also worthwhile to note about Catacomb Sifter is the other text on it, which is that whenever another creature you control dies, you scry 1, becomes very powerful in a deck like Corey's, where he's trying to assemble specific creature combinations.
Wow. Steve Locke. 2 copies of Liliana's Mastery in hand, if I'm seeing this right.
Wow.
Oh, boy.
And we talked earlier about how Corey's the one trying to go big.
There's one of them.
Oof.
If he gets to cast these on back-to-back turns, how in the world is Corey supposed to mess with that?
It's going to be really tough. It is worthwhile to note, though, that Corey could conceivably make some sort of play of Winding Constrictor into Virtuous Gearhulk using these Scions, but even that is going to keep him on the defensive. And while he will have good blocks, it might not be enough, because Steve's getting in for a lot of damage right now even.
Steve kind of lined up a huge attack, though. He's now reconsidering. I think what's going on is I do believe he has another copy of Liliana's Mastery, and he may be saying, if I attack here and lose like two or three of these creatures, how much better will it be for me next turn if they all get +1/+1 again? Like, maybe I can just overpower, and just give Corey no good blocks ever.
Yeah, and, you know, Steve has been taking the conservative route more often than not this tournament, and it's been working out really well for him.
Yeah, he has been smashing this tournament.
Corey has his back against the wall, and he doesn't even know that Steve has another copy of Liliana's Mastery in hand.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I saw, Jake, and if so, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's going to be the final nail in the coffin, if you will.
Indeed.
It's my pleasure to announce we are currently accepting registration for the 7 p.m. Modern
Such a strong card, even by itself. And then you take into consideration the fact that you're playing other zombies, and this is the type of anthem that I can get behind.
All registration is now closed for on-demand events. The only registration we are currently accepting is for our 7 p.m.
Corey knows that this is a really important turn. He also probably is asking himself, why no attack last turn? Like, it wasn't a disaster if Steve attacks there. It just perhaps wasn't super great. Ooh, here we go. How about a whiny constrictor? What else do you have, Corey?
He needs something else, but that's a good start to a recipe. It's the olive oil, if you will. It's going to be good when it's done. I guess Corey does not know how much power is going to be coming across the table at him in the following turn.
But he's starting to figure it out, I think. He's going to play a Rishkar Pima Renegade here and spout off 4 tokens, but this is risky business. Wow, he really can't make up his mind here, can he? This is a tough spot for Corey.
This is hard.
Yeah, really tough spot for Corey.
He's going to get a pair of scries here.
I also think that he will have really put some thought into why Steve's not attacking and maybe even have figured out, well, there could be something pretty bad coming. Corey's doing a little scrying.
Yeah, he's got to decide what order he wants to put these chip 2 cards in.
He put 1 on the bottom. I believe 1 on the top. There's Rishkar.
And, he's going to get to make 2 guys into 4/5s, which will match up reasonably well against the zombies, even once there are a pair of Liliana's Masteries in play. The problem is that there are so many zombies attacking that even with those 2 good blockers, he's going to have to come up with bad blocks for the other 16 points of power that are coming across the table at him. And I think you're right. I think that is another copy of Liliana's Mastery.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if there's really a better thing somebody could do in this slot.
No. I mean, back-to-back turns, casting it when he already had a fairly well built-out board, that's just rude. Do it, Steve.
Dark Salvation could also be very good if he has that as an option.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. No, it looks like he drew Grasp. Grasp of Darkness. So he's deciding, what do my attacks look like? If I can kill one of these creatures first, or maybe attack with everything, let you block with your 2 Catacomb Sifters, then grasp 1 down. Then I can save my creature, kill yours, only lose 1. But no. It's Liliana's Mastery number 2. All the zombies are getting +2/+2 now.
Yeah, now that card adds 8 points of power to the board while also giving all of his other creatures +1/+1. It's just brutal.
And even the patient and plotting Steve Locke has said, ship them. Everybody in the red zone, you figure out the blocks. Like you said a minute ago, Jake, Corey does have 2 good blocks, right? He's got the 2 Catacomb Sifters, but the rest, well, it falls off a little after that.
Yeah. Now he's got to do at least 1 chump just to survive here. And so he's going to get a double block here on the Relentless Dead, and then he's going to chump here. And one thing that's nice for Corey is that, he's going to get to scry a bit. He can draw whatever he needs on the following turn. But it's hard to come up with anything for the following turn that allows Corey to win this game.
And you see that look on his face there. He knows this is a really bad position that he's found himself in. And the type of deck he's playing is not the one that's built to come back from this, right?
Yeah, this is
sweepers.
He's supposed to be ahead at this stage of the game. I think turn 4/5 is where his deck turns the corner, so to speak.
Right. And you can see how well this attack worked out for Steve. Look at his board still.
Yeah, Corey got 3 4-4s off the table there. It's turn 5, and there's still 20 points of power coming at him on the following turn. That's if Steve doesn't add anything to his board.
Right. And remember, we know that Steve also has a Grasp of Darkness in the hand, too, which could very easily clear the way for the victory here, depending on what Corey's got for this turn.
Yeah, and I mean, Corey may be trying to think about, ways that he can survive, considering what's just on the board now, not even taking into consideration the Grasp of Darkness that's in Steve's hand.
Corey's resolving some scries there from the Catacomb Shifters. Ooh.
If he's leaving a card on top, that means he's probably got at least one more turn not taking into account the Grasp of Darkness.
Yeah, he just left the land up for that Verdurous Gearhulk, Jake. So how close is this here? If he casts it, he's got 4 blockers against 5 attackers. He's at 6. This actually works out well for him from this position. He can make enough blockers so that Steve can't really get him. The main key here is if Corey can keep all of his creatures out of Grasp of Darkness range, which he does here.
Yeah.
Very smart from Corey Baumeister.
Corey with a beautiful understanding of the matchup. Really playing
smart.
the math game perfectly here. Playing as a whole bunch of 4-4s. What do you want? You want 4 5s and 5 5s. And Corey could fall to 2 here, but if he does, Steve's board looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are any number of cards in Corey's deck that could even allow Corey to swing back for the win, even with that Grasp of Darkness in Steve's hand, which is just absurd to me that we're even in this situation right now. Wow. Back-to-back Liliana's Masteries. Corey still not necessarily dead, depending on what Steve drew, of course.
His hand is... He's actually going to go for Scavenger Grounds here. And that's actually going to give him Revolt here, Jake. How do you like that?
I think that's a beautiful play because it wins the game for him.
How sweet is that?
Yeah.
Wow, that is smart. Really nice play from Steve Locke, and now he crashes in for the win. What a creative way to get Revolt going. Normally you think of maybe sacrificing a creature, or maybe an evolving one. Right there. Very nice. Scavenger Grounds. Activated.
Found the line.
Yeah, and he did have to draw there though, because the card he had in his hand when he went to his draw step would not get the job done as it said. That was Grasp of Darkness. He needed that fatal push and to see the line. Really smart stuff from both players, but Steve Locke ends up edging out Corey Baumeister in game number 1, and boy, that was close.
That was beautifully played on both parts.
That was really fun to watch.
Yeah, that was one of the better games I've ever seen in a Grand Prix final, to be honest.
Look at you.
No, I mean, both players drew very well. Both players played near perfectly.
It was great to watch. Really fun.
I feel like if
sideboard
both players had their hands revealed for the entirety of the game, they would have played the exact same way.
Which is about the biggest compliment you can give.
Absolutely. So if we look at these sideboards here, something that's really interesting is, we've talked about it in the past, but Corey, in post-boarded games when he plays against these zombie decks, he has the Henny's expertise, which is great in this matchup. Easily the most important card here. Only 2 copies, but if he's able to draw one of them, the matchup sways wildly into his favor. And he is able to scry quite a bit with his Catacomb Sifters, and that's going to help him find those particular cards. Another card that's going to be really good for Corey here is Sky Sovereign, console flagship. We've seen that card.
Repeatable way to kill zombies.
The other thing is that it flies. And Zombies doesn't really have a good way to deal with flyers.
No, they really don't, do they?
And Zombies also does not have any sort of instant speed way to deal with a 5 toughness, 5 casting cost flyer.
Right, not at all.
So something that Corey can do is he can put a whole bunch of ++1 counters on that Sky Sovereign and just kill Steve. And Steve really can't say much about it. So these post-boarded games get very interesting. Excited to see what happens. From the other angle, Steve, his sideboard options, not the worst. He gets an extra grasp, which is really important here for breaking up the creature combos, and he gets 2 copies of Never Return. He has a Sky Sovereign of his own also, by the way, which will likely come in. It's not quite as strong because a lot of the time the creatures on Corey's side of the board get out of range a little bit quicker. The one thing Sky Sovereign has going for it for Steve, however, is that Corey's playing Nissa. And Sky Sovereign's ability to kill a Planeswalker through any number of blockers is very strong.
Yeah, that makes
especially a Planeswalker that has as few loyalty as Nissa.
Yeah, Corey may even be incentivized to use Nissa's loyalty very liberally.
Yes.
Minus, you know, get it
right away.
Make hay while the sun's shining, as they say.
Wow. So Steve Locke on absolute tear this weekend.
Yeah, he hasn't lost. Just skip that part of the GP experience.
This is Corey's local GP, by the way.
For Corey?
Yeah, he's from North Dakota, and this is the closest a major Magic tournament comes to where he lives. So he drove 3 hours here.
I see. So that's how you determine if it's local or not. 3 hours.
When you live in North Dakota, 3 hours is local, apparently.
I think you're
that's
right.
how he described it to me.
I think that's exactly how the math works. Yeah, that is where Brad's from.
A little stretching in. Loosen up a bit. Steve Locke now, having not lost a match the entire weekend. He drew 2 matches, but he hasn't lost one. Here in the finals, 1 game away from continuing the streak and taking home the title. Corey back against the wall. Needs to win 2 in a row here.
He does get the advantage of that sideboard, though, in these post-boarded games. It's not a bad matchup for him. But, yeah, being down a game's tough. You know, that skews the percentages pretty strongly in Steve Locke's favor.
To be fair, I think Steve Locke is a slight favorite in Game 1. And the fact that he was on the play means that he's an even greater favorite.
Okay.
I think that in Game 2, Corey might become a slight favorite. But I think if he's on the draw, it might even still be in Steve's favor a bit. Though an incredibly close match, and play will be a major factor here. The power and toughness numbers and the way these players are able to line those up against each other will be of utmost importance in deciding who's able to win this match.
Corey's all business now. Look at him.
Yeah, serious mode has been turned on.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot on the line here. $10,000 for first place.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
and very valuable pro points for him.
I was going to say that. You know, this is actually the first premier level event of the next season. The Pro Tour last weekend wrapped the prior season, so this is a really strong start for Corey. Honestly, regardless, right? Like, just if we just stop right here, he's in good shape. But winning a GP, getting 8 points, and one of your slots maxed out
right off
your
the
coming
bat
season is such a boon. Really, that's the kind of thing that makes you go, we're doing it.
Yeah, dig your heel into first place,
Yes.
and anybody who tries to come up to the top of the mountain, you just push them right down.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it, to be honest.
All right, Corey gets to be on the play for this game. I think he's kept. Let's see if Steve keeps too. No, he's not going to be able to keep.
Okay.
So the percentages bump ever so slightly over in Corey Baumeister's favor once again. This has been a great tournament. We've had a really good time hanging out with you. Thank you for joining us and also exploring this new standard format. It's pretty wide open right now. This is, you know, Jake, I thought you were 100% correct when you talked about it earlier when you said, you know, this is the time when it's fun.
This is my favorite part of a constructed Magic format, when it is just crazy out there. And these are the 2 decks in the finals. These are both established decks, but you can really play whatever you want to play to great success in this format. I mean, this is not what anybody expected to see here in the finals.
Apparently somebody brought food. Corey's going for a little energy snack there. Again, the percentages just keep tipping in his favor. Trail mix? Are you kidding? All right, let's see what Steve's got as far as his 6-card opener. Does he have a keep? He's got a 1-lander, Jake, but of course he also has that scry, and he's on the draw this time. No, disciplined mulligan there from Steve Locke, but that's bad news. If he's going to stay undefeated here and take down this GP, he's going to have to do it with a 5-card hand this game. Otherwise, he'll have another game to try.
Yeah, there's still a game 3 here to be played. But that's assuming Corey wins this game.
Yeah, which
Steve could definitely win on 5 cards.
Certainly not a foregone conclusion. Though I got to say, the smile's back. You know, when your opponent mulls to 5, it's like, hey, I got trail mix.
Yeah.
You're on 5. What could be worse? Or
when Steve drew his opening 7, Corey's face was stone cold.
Yeah, it really was.
Now he's on 5. You're right. He ate a little bit. He feels good about it. So let's see. Are we going to need a keepable 5? Another 1-lander. This time an if near deadlands.
He's got to keep this, though.
Probably.
Looking for a land, not finding one, passing the turn. Now, the real question here, okay, well, he found a 1-drop, so that's a start.
It's something.
Dread Wanderer, and you know what? He actually already had one in his hand additional to that, so he is going to get to make a play this turn and next no matter what. But how quickly can Corey get off to a quick start here? Sylvan Advocate's a nice one. Looks really good. Ooh, another land, though, for Steve. Unfortunately, it only makes colorless mana. He's just going to have to cast another Dread Wanderer and pass it. That means he's taken 2 here.
And even though this is a single-color deck, those colorless lands do hurt Steve. Zombie cards are very mana-intensive for black mana. Like, he's playing Grasp of Darkness. He's playing Relentless Dead. Those all require double black.
That's right. And on speaking of getting hurt by your lands, you know, that If Near Deadlands has done 2 to Steve as well. It's his only black mana source, and it does do a damage to you when you tap it for black. So this is kind of all playing into Corey Baumeister's plan. And I'll tell you what here, Jake, this is the scariest turn for Steve because he's going to do whatever he's going to do. But, ooh, Swamp off the top.
It's a good one.
And he's got Dark Salvation. Look at this. It's going to force Corey to chump block here. And that's still going to put Nissa down to 2. Corey was, you know, in a position where he could untap, play Constrictor, play Creature minus Nissa, and just be like, that's it. Now all of a sudden he's left with no board state outside of Nissa, and he's facing 6 power.
And these are the types of 5-card hands we dream about.
This is a dreamy one. Oath of Nissa to kick off the turn for Baumeister. Always better find something good.
Some great discipline here from Steve. Recognizing, okay, I cannot win with this 7. I cannot win with this 6. I'm willing to go to 5 cards. I'm not going to gamble with a 1-lander on 6 cards in this GP.
Wow, he did have the Winding Constrictor too. But in this case, it's just a plant token. Was that a never in hand for Steve Locke as well?
I believe so. It's a never to return.
Whoa. Look at this. Kill your Winding Constrictor. Kill Nissa.
Wow. And now Corey's struggling to stay in the game.
Steve Locke on a mulligan to 5 is way ahead on board now. Corey has plenty of time here, though, to redeploy some blockers or threats and try to get this thing back on track. But this opening draw here from Steve Locke has been very impressive.
At Dark Salvation, really just putting him way ahead. In both games 1 and 2, Steve was able to cast the Dark Salvation on the 3rd turn of the game, making a zombie and also killing one of Corey's creatures. And let's just say it's been really, really important to his game plan both times.
Man, Corey has to settle for another copy of Nissa, bringing the power on his side of the battlefield up to, that's right, still 0.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. Is Steve going to continue just to pressure Nissa here? It seems like that would be the play.
I imagine. Corey, even with a double chump here, his Nissa just goes down to 2 loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's not in the best situation.
Block, block. Nissa falls down to 2, and he really needs some action here.
Yeah, Corey needs to be setting up for Verger's Gearhulk with that plant token. Otherwise, it's not looking good for him at all.
And it really is Steve Locke's weekend if he can take down this one in 2 games, including a mulligan to 5 on the draw.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, when I mulligan to 5, sometimes I'd rather be on the draw.
Yeah, I know, but it's a zombies deck. Like,
yeah.
Look what he's doing. He decides to play Relentless Dead rather than Flashback Return, or I should say Aftermath Return.
And what's really crazy here is that if Steve draws a land in the following turn, he follows up with Liliana's Mastery.
Yes, I saw that.
Think about this mulligan to 5.
This is a beaut right here.
Woo.
I mean, he needed some help off the top of his library. Remember, it was a 1-lander, and he scried to the bottom, but boy, has he got that help. There is a fatal push, though, for Corey.
And Corey just trying to use his mana efficiently at this point.
Okay, well, we got big hitters on the other side of the battlefield, too, because that's Plant Token and Verger's Gearhulk now. So Corey's going to put either 2 or 3 counters on the plant and the rest on the Hulk. And he'll have nice blockers.
Yeah. I like this split a lot here from Corey. It may leave his 1 plant susceptible to Grasp of Darkness, but it keeps the Verger's Gearhulk out of that range. It also puts him in a situation where neither Grasp or Fatal Push can deal with the Verger's Gearhulk. The other thing it does is it protects Nissa for the following turn. So Steve trying to find the correct line here. What did he draw? Oh.
Didn't need to draw anything. He's got Return. He's going to use that.
That seems reasonable.
To get a zombie and then just pass a turn back. Another thing to remember here, Jake, is that Nissa has done a very good job of distracting the zombies from Corey Baumeister's life total. So as much as this has been a good 5 here, he's at 20.
Yeah. And that's something we need to remember is that Corey's going to be ahead on cards in the long term of this game, even with Steve picking up those 2-for-1s. Wow.
Now we're going to see that Nissa minus.
Yeah, now this is a really nice play from Corey here. He's activating the land before using that Nissa minus. Gets to put a +1/+1 counter on the land. And then he wants to close the window as fast as possible.
Close the window. He wants to slam the door, JVL.
Yeah.
He wants to put his foot in it, put a door stop, double bolt it, and get this thing done before Steve can find another way out of it.
Yeah. Last game, he saw the inevitability of double Liliana's Mastery. He does not want to be facing up against that again. Here we see Sylvan Advocate at full power level. It has the +1/+1 counter from Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. It also has the bonus +2/+2 from Corey having 6 lands in play. It's also giving +2/+2 to Corey's attacking land, which is already a 3/3. So that makes that into a 5/5.
So a 5/5 Death Touch Hissing Quagmire.
And this is a lethal attack, so Steve's going to be forced to throw away some of his army here.
Good start from Steve, but it does look like Corey may be cleaning up the mess here. and working his way towards a victory in game number 2. It's not over yet, but Corey's in a good spot.
Wow. Steve's blocks, no matter how he cuts it, they're just not great.
No, they're really not. This has him, what, taking 9?
So he's trampling over for 2.
So 10,
taking
11?
4. So it's 4, 5, 9. So 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Steve down to 4 here.
Wow, even after blocking?
Yeah.
My goodness sakes. No land off the top for Steve Locke. He instead found a Colossus, and I think we're going to see Corey Baumeister even things up, able to capitalize on that mulligan to 5 from Steve, even though Steve put up a really nice fight there. It's hard to imagine he gets out of this.
I don't really know what he's supposed to do here at just 4 life.
Nothing. And that's going to be game number 2 going to Corey Baumeister, trying to become a 2-time GP champ here. Steve Locke gives up a game there. Ooh, baby. This is a close one.
It all comes down to this.
Gotta see.
The end.
Steve
of the
mulled a
Grand
5
Prix.
that game and still kind of put a good showing on. Like, what if he keeps 7?
And being on the play also with Dark Salvation, if he's able to do that, if he's able to go 1 drop, 2 drop, or 1 drop, 1 drop Dark Salvation, puts Corey in a really bad situation. It's also important to note, though, that Steve has had that 1 drop on turn 1 in all of these games, and that makes a huge difference in this matchup because those Dark Salvations that have been blowouts on turn 3 both times are not possible without 1 drop into Dark Salvation. And you know, the statistical probability of that happening is not 50%. It is significantly below that.
Well, 1 game left, Jake. Who do you think's going to win?
Oh, man.
You can have Steve Locke, the untouchable
pick.
man, on the play with zombies. Or you can take the already GP champion Corey Baumeister on the draw with with green-black.
I don't know. I think this is incredibly even. I think it'll be a well-earned Grand Prix victory for whoever ends up winning.
Really? You're running. You're running
really
the both
do.
teams played hard on me here.
I am running the both teams played hard. I don't think I could root. The problem is that as much as I want to root for both people, I don't think I have it in me to root against either of them after watching them play this weekend. These two have been playing better than anybody else I've watched this weekend. And here they are in the finals, and that makes me feel so good to know that the 2 people who have played the best Magic I've seen this weekend are the last 2 people standing.
A little bit of justice for you.
Yeah, a lot of justice for me.
All right.
And here it is going to game 3.
All right, I won't put you on the spot then. What does chat say? Who's going to win, chat? Is it going to be Steve Locke or is it going to be Corey Baumeister?
Chat seems to be more interested in which deck wins. But
All right, which one's going to win, chat? Zombies or Constrictor? Zombies. Corey, green-black, zombies.
seems pretty evenly split. We've got an excellent match in our hands.
This one says Marshall Sutcliffe wins my heart always. All right.
Oh, well,
That
seems reasonable.
That seems right. Nobody's arguing with that one. My beard wins? Okay. Zombies on the play. Goblins? Get out of here. Marshall wins.
So
I got a
again-
lot of votes in here.
Jeez.
Yeah. Wasn't even in there.
Now, on the play, it's, again, important to note that Steve has the ability to completely run over the game if he's able to back up an aggressive clock with good removal. And in game 1, we saw that happen. And, you know, Corey found a way to stay in that game that I don't think 95% of Magic players would have found. You know, Corey, the way he piloted through game 1 to give himself a chance at victory was something really special. And it ended up not working out, and Steve had to find a really interesting line to get by that. Steve also played that game just about perfectly.
He also had to draw that removal spell. Remember, that the one he had did not get him out of it.
It's important to know that Corey has been also timing his explosivity with this deck. You know, we've watched him time and time again. The actual combos with creatures that he's able to assemble here, he is saving those combos in his hand. He's playing the Sylvan Advocates on the early turns. He's not going for the, I hope my opponent doesn't have it. Here's the Winding Constrictor on turn 2. Let's go. He's, you know, setting up these turns with Nissa. He's biding his time. And then he's making gigantic monsters, and he's swinging for huge amounts, and he's turning the game around on Steve and putting Steve on the back foot all at once.
Well, one more game's going to decide this thing, and this is the one. Let's hope no mulligans this time. I'd like a nice
clean match.
Yeah, nice clean match.
Like game 1.
Exactly.
Is that a 5-lander for Steve? Interesting one. I think his only threat, though, is Diregraph Colossus. And if there's any indication of the way these games have played out, that's not necessarily a winning recipe here.
Yeah. He's going to mulligan.
Yeah.
Read his lips there. Corey, what do you have?
Looks like Corey might be on the mulligan, too, here.
Well, would only be fair.
So Corey shuffles through those cards very quickly. Corey also going down to 6.
Just a 1-lander for Corey, and he's going to send that one right on back.
Still a fair fight.
Yeah, you know, I asked for no mulligans, but if they're both going to mulligan, I can accept.
Yeah. I'd prefer they both mulligan to 6 than both them mulliganing to 5, though.
Agree.
When things start going down to 5, we have, you know, not as fun Magic to watch. The other thing is, it's important to note here that mulligans favor Steve here. If both players go down to 6, that's better for Steve. Because
why is that?
Corey's cards are better alongside other cards in his deck. Corey is, you know, working around a lot of synergy. And while it's true for Steve, too, Steve's deck has redundancy. And that's how his deck has kind of the consistency that it has and the synergy that it has is through redundancy. A lot of his cards do exactly the same thing. Where Corey's cards all do very different things that interact well together. So if Corey has less cards to work with, he's going to be able to, you know, put forth less of those powerful interactions. Where Steve, whichever cards end up in his hand, those cards do very similar things.
Looks like Steve's kept. They've both kept. All right, we are underway here. Both of them on 6. Is it going to be Steve Locke, never having picked up a loss, 13-0-2 in Swiss, 2-0 in the top 8 so far? And can he add a GP trophy to that? Or Corey Baumeister, who already won a GP this year, looking to add another one.
Both of them putting it on top.
Here we go. Crypt Breaker kicks
We're
things
off
off for Steve Locke. What does Corey have? Wow, he's already got Fatal Push at the ready just to snap off that Crypt Breaker. No shenanigans for you, Steve.
It looks like Steve has more pressure, though.
Corey put a Grasp of Darkness back on top of the library with his Scry, so we know he's got his land situation sorted. Somewhat.
And we've seen Dreadwanderer be great for Steve all weekend.
Gosh, it certainly has. And he always seems to have them in the early part of the game, too.
He's not drawing them on turn 5 or 6.
1 or 2 only. Relentless Dead there from Steve. Passes the turn back to Corey, draws his card. Steve's tapped out. Steve missed his land drop. Corey did not.
That definitely bodes well for Corey, but you know, if Corey has a removal spell here, he probably wants to use it on that Relentless Dead before Steve's going to gain any sort of advantage off of it. At the same time, if Steve starts using his mana when he's this starved on mana to return that Relentless Dead back to his hand, that might be good for Corey and give Corey the tempo that he needs to steal this game away. So
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm Corey, I just assume that Steve is unlikely to have the mana to do so, and so that it's probably not a huge issue. Now, if this turn is Grasp, well, then you certainly do it now.
yes.
And that's exactly what Corey does. So Relentless Dead hits the bin, but once again, the Dread Wanderer gets to keep hitting. It's going to drop Corey down to 16 before Steve, oh no, misses his third land drop again and passes the turn. Here's Oath of Nissa, but Corey really needs some action, or maybe just a forest. Let's see what he gets.
Yeah, so something that's interesting here is that Corey has at least a Winding Constrictor in his hand, and he hasn't been playing it. And Steve has a few different removal spells in his hand.
No land drop there from Corey either, so he's just going to play a Walking
Wow.
Ballista for 1. And there's a land off the top for Steve Locke. He found an If Near Dead lands.
You have to remember both these players on the mulligan. Corey, looking at the top 3 cards of his library with Oath of Nissa, is still unable to find the land.
Yeah, he ended up just taking in this, I believe. Dread Wanderer is going to hit the red zone, is going to knock Corey down to 14. So the Walking Bliss is just going to hang for now. That can really wreak havoc with Steve's board potentially, though. He'll have to respect it.
Something interesting, Corey revealed that Nissa off the Oath of Nissa. And interestingly enough, he doesn't have double green to cast the Nissa, but thanks to the Oath of Nissa, he'll be able to do so. Oath of Nissa allowing you to use any color of mana to cast your Planeswalker spells.
So Steve's going to set up for next turn rather than going too crazy here. He's going to play a Diagraph Colossus as a 4/4 and then try to just spout out a bunch of zombies next turn.
Wow.
4/4 is quite good here, though.
Yeah, and Corey in an awkward situation. The Diagraph Colossus matches up really well against what's in his hand right now. He already used that Grasp of Darkness on Relentless Dead, and
There's Nissa. And there's a plant.
yeah.
That was Liliana's Mastery off the top of the library, though. He's a bit far off of that at only 3 lands still.
Yeah, he's going to need to draw another 2 lands before he's able to do that. But the thing is, I think Steve has another copy of Diagraph Colossus in hand. And we know Corey doesn't have an answer to the first one, which means that Corey will not have an answer to the second one either. And if Steve attacks here with both toward the Nissa, Corey is likely to block the Diagraph Colossus with his Walking Ballista, kill the Jackal, and then Steve will be able to cast another Diagraph Colossus, this time with 3 counters on it, while also netting him a zombie token.
Oh, boy. Now, it looks like Corey's just going to throw the plant away here.
I like this.
Yeah, take 2. So this is going to drop down to 2 loyalty. Is he just going to play another Colossus? Because, I mean, hey, that's pretty good too, right?
Yeah.
Just another 4/4. And, of course, he gets the zombie from the original one. And now if he starts casting zombies, the thing gets out of control. Like,
See-
Corey's got his hands full here.
But I really like this from Corey because this sets Corey up for the possibility. If Corey finds a land and has Yahenni's expertise, then he can minus his Nissa, have enough counters on this Walking Ballista to finish off both of those Colossuses while completely wiping the board, and then he can play a 3-drop and be ahead on the board from this board state.
Well, let's see if he's got it, because he did find the land, Jake. He has yet to play Yahenni's expertise, though. Would be fantastic here. No, he's only going to play a 2-mana spell. What is it, a snake maybe?
Maybe it's a Winding Constrictor.
Could be.
Wouldn't be the worst.
It is what this deck is named after.
Wow, this is... I'm actually, honest to God, biting my nails. There we go. Couple of +1/+1 counters. Both creatures. And this walking ballista,
Look at Corey.
yeah,
He's like,
not feeling good.
Hold.
With both those diagraph Colossuses out, he has to feel awful, right? I mean, he needs to find an expertise. That's his way out of this game, out of this situation. Like, nothing else will do it for him.
Steve stumbling a bit here with his mana. But it looks like he's got options in hand and is surveying the scene as we speak.
And the thing about Diagraph Colossus is when you have two of them in play, every time he's casting another zombie, he's getting 2 more zombie tokens.
This could be the
super wide, super fast.
I mean, this is where Corey is just like, please, 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 please don't just overload the board. Unless, of course, he has that Yahane's expertise.
In which case, he's like, please, please, please overload the board.
Just lay them all before me. No, it looks like it's going to be a fatal push targeting the snake, the whining constrictor. Corey's thinking about something. In the meantime, snake down. Corey's left with just the walking ballista here.
Yeah, but that walking ballista, not much of a defensive force when he's faced off. Ooh.
Here's Dark Salvation. Steve Locke moving closer and closer to an undefeated weekend here in Minneapolis.
I think that may be the card that ends this Grand Prix.
That could be the one that shuts the door on Corey Baumeister picking up that second trophy.
And the thing is Yadi's expertise is no longer good enough to get Corey back into this game. He had that window. He had those 2 turns where he could have drawn that card. He was unable to.
Now he's taking 8.
Yeah.
And he's facing down lethal damage. Steve Locke, 13-0-2 in Swiss, 2-0 here in the top 8. Nobody's been able to beat him all weekend, and he is moving very close to sealing the deal against Corey Baumeister. There's
Multiple
Nissa.
5-drops stranded in Corey's hand right now.
And Corey's best play here is to play Nissa, make a plant, and pass. Precarious to say the least. Though no removal spell in hand for Steve means that Corey does get to live another turn.
Yeah. Corey will live to see another day, though he's going to go down to 2. So if Steve is able to advance his board,
which he is,
with another creature,
yeah,
then even if Corey has a big play like a Verdurous Gearhulk on the following turn, it's not good enough.
How do you like that for advancing your board?
Yeah, and that's the thing about
Just
any zombie when you have double Diagraph Colossus.
Yeah, 2 mana, 6 power. Corey Baumeister draws his card for the turn. Is there anything he can do?
Doesn't look like it.
He's looking. He's trying to find it, but Steve Locke,
the man of the weekend,
untouchable
didn't lose a match
this
all
weekend.
Incredible.
Has put out 4, 8, 10, 14 power against just 2 life, and he's done it. Steve Locke, undefeated on the weekend. Corey's going to have to settle for a second-place finish here. Mono black zombies in the hands of Steve Locke. You're looking at our champion. Great stuff. Some of his friends just found out that he won. And hey, we even get a smile out of Steve.
Yeah, there it is.
He's really taking on the persona. Oh, there we go. Get the trophy in there for him. There's a plaque for you, Corey. Great stuff. Congratulations, Steve Locke. A well-earned victory for you and a really impressive feat. He did have 2 draws, so it wasn't the mythical end-to-end with all wins. But I'll tell you what, I've been covering these GPs for a while. I don't remember seeing somebody just not lose on the entire weekend.
It's a very rare thing.
Very, very rare. Like, I have to ask BDM,
that's
to
like
get the numbers.
Once every couple years type of thing.
All right, well, that is going to do it for the finals. We got a little bit more from you here. We'll be back after this.